Hello, everyone, and welcome to P1 Broadcasting coverage of the NASR Votive IndyCar Series. I'm Mark Murphy, your host for this evening, joined by iRacing IndyCar competitor and famed Jalopnik.com writer Ryan Eric King, affectionately known as The Wreck. We welcome you to the California Speedway for 200 miles, 100 laps of IndyCar action. Just now getting set to qualify for this event, 2 laps of qualifying, and they will take the best time. And while they're doing that, Ryan, welcome aboard. What can our fans expect today?
Oh, you can expect to see some of the fastest, some of the highest speeds you'll see in an IndyCar on iRacing at this, unfortunately, no longer with the super speedway in Southern California.
Yeah, and that's a shame. California Speedway, of course, was the longtime home of IndyCar racing in on the West Coast in Southern California. One of the fastest speedways in the United States. We'll get to that in just a second. For the inaugural race here, we are going to see 4 sets of tires, so 3 in the pits, one in the car, 75% fuel, so we would expect them to be able to go anywhere between 27 and 31 laps on a tank full of gas. The pace car speed is 70 miles an hour. Pit road speed is 55. So you got to whoa it down, Ryan. 220 miles an hour down to 55, and that does tend to lead to some calamity, and there is one fast repair. Just so our viewers are aware, this is a new league, but there are some notable drivers who are entered in here. Luis Gonzalez-Nunez won the first recruitment race at Kansas. Craig Forsyth, longtime Lionheart IndyCar and Velocity Online Racing competitor. Julian Altena, the VOR owner, is in the event tonight. And then we've got some regulars from the Tuesday night broadcast. Nelson Macias, Edson Santos, Will Stearns, and Nick Wheeler. It'd be interesting to see how some of these names that we aren't as familiar with stack up against the veterans. Another story that we're going to follow today is the weather. How's that going to affect the racing? Sometimes California can be a low-line contest. Sometimes it can be an all-out drafting war, and sometimes tires matter. The hotter it gets, the more they matter. The cooler it is, the more they don't. And so we're going to follow that, and we're going to follow who can get to the bottom at the end. So those are the things that we're going to follow today. The series itself is a free-to-enter series. There is a purse for the top 3, and we've been informed by Shane Coker, the series director, that there is going to be a $50 drawing for a $50 random drawing for an entrant who enters all the races other than 2. So if you compete in the entire schedule for this series, you're going to get a chance to win $50, and he may do more than one of those drawings. So looking at speeds, Ryan, it appears as though we've got some of those unfamiliar names at the top right now. Curtis May tops the charts, 219, 279 over Gary Lovren. That's a name that we know. As we also know, Nick Wheeler, Stephen Bruner, and Mason Mitchum will round out the top 5. Surprised by those speeds? A little faster, a little slower than you thought?
I'd say it's around the ballpark where I expected them to be. It's just one of those scenarios where starting position is going to matter if the track heats up as the race goes on, because you don't have to worry about moving your way up to the front if you simply just start there.
Yeah, and that's true. And here's a car that we expect to be toward the front. This is Julian Altena we're watching here with about 37 seconds left in qualifying. He's going to bring it right down to the bottom along the apron. You can do that during qualifying. And Julian is going to slot in second, 219.483, right behind Edson Santos.
Yeah, and the entire field, as it stands, roughly the top 15 are all within 0.2 of each other, which is something you'd expect to see on a super speedway, but it also shows how close the field's going to be out there should the conditions allow it.
Yeah, and that's very true. I just watched Luis Gonzalez-Nunez turn in a lap at 219, 231, and we are set to head for the grid. Speaking of that grid, on the pole for the NASR Votive California 200, presented by Boomer Button Boxes, Edson Santos, 219.728 miles an hour. Julian Altena will go on the outside pole, 219.483. The second row will consist of Curtis May and Luis Gonzalez Nunez. Third row, Gary Lovern and Nick Wheeler, two veterans of these cars. Stephen Bruner and Mason Mitchum will make up row 4. And Scott Schroeder, Dylan Brannon will start 9th and 10th, row 5. In row 6, starting 11th, Baron Glover and Mark Miller. Shane Coker will be 13th. Akash Rajesh will roll off 14th. Turner Johnson will start 15th. The 88, driven by Dan Adams, he'll be 16th. Jeff Perchatsky, and if we are saying your names wrong, please let us know, will go 17th. Ashton Kosner is 18th. Armands Juan Petrovosic will go 19th, and Iker Pagero will round out your top 20. 21st, Sam Kosner. 22nd, James Waring. 23rd, Gregory Robinson. 24th, Nolan Crowley. The final car to take time will start 25th. That is Josh Ward. Nelson Macias and Will Stearns did not take time. And that is our starting lineup.
And we got a very large field for this race.
Yeah, we do. We're looking at what, 27, 28 cars. That is nearly a full field. 33 would be the maximum to start here, and so that is a large field for sure. One of these. Normally in a regular iRacing deal, we've got what, 24 cars is the max here.
Yeah, 24 cars is the on paper max. Obviously, you get some weird things through splitting, but yes, 24. Anything more than that, it starts getting crowded out there the first couple laps.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a 3-minute warm up, and so while we're taking care of that, we'll give you some of the facts about the track here. It was opened in 1997 by Roger Penske on the site of a former Kaiser steel mill that was a Superfund site. Penske cleaned it up and turned it into a world-class racing facility. It is a sister track to Michigan and the also demolished Texas World Speedway. Of the three, this one features the lowest banking. So Texas World was the steepest, Michigan was in the middle, California is the lowest bank, 14 degrees in the turns, 11 down the front, 11 degrees on the front stretch, and 3 degrees on the back. The track is currently owned by NASCAR and is being turned into a short track, supposedly, right, Ryan?
I'll believe it when it opens.
Just like myself, and it's a shame because this at its inception was instantly one of the fastest racetracks on the planet. Gilles de Ferran in 2002 set the world. 2000 was it 2001?
Yes, 2001.
2001 set the world closed course speed record here in his Honda Reynard. That was slightly, and please take that as sarcastic, it was a little bit more than slightly modified. Team Marlboro, Team Penske, Honda Reynard, 241.428. That is the outright track record, and I believe still stands as a world record. The IndyCar record here for the current series was set by Helio Castroneves in 2003 at 226.751. As you would expect, the current cars, they aren't as powerful as cars of yesteryear, and therefore they are slower, right? Correct, Ryan?
Yes, you will be correct. You will not be averaging 241 miles an hour today.
Absolutely not. Now we do want to point out the schedule. This league still is accepting entries for anybody out there who is interested. See the link in the broadcast description. We're going to run tonight at Auto Club, and then next Wednesday at Chicagoland. 2 weeks time, we're going to do Texas, then Pocono, Michigan, Las Vegas, and the Indy Oval. All races in this league are ovals. They are all 100 laps, 75% fuel, 4 tire sets, a fixed setup, and you get one fast repair. We are 15 seconds away from the grid. And I did want to take time to just kind of call out Boomer Button Boxes is the title sponsor of the series. And so, again, Should be a link in the broadcast description. If you'd like, head on over to Boomer Button Boxes. If you need some extra dials or buttons to go with your iRacing setup, as we get ready to head for the green flag, or the grid at least. Now, Ryan, how much negative weight jacker you think these guys are going to be dialing in here for this first corner? It is the fixed setup. The weather is not going to be kind to the virtual Firestones. 189 or 109 degrees on the track and 83 in the air. How loose do you predict these cars are going to be early on?
Very loose. I don't know what they would put on for negative weight jacker. I like my car loose, so normally I just do a couple clicks, probably -4 through the first corner. But if you go too low, you're gonna lose it. And with the amount of cars we have in the field today, I would not want to lose it in front of this field.
You know, I wouldn't want to either. I'm usually more of a fan of the -7, -8 variety. Then again, I like my cars a little bit more snug, probably. But also, you know, in thinking about this, you know, surviving that first lap is going to be key. The first 500-mile race I ever drove in another league was being contested by several current IndyCar drivers, and one of them spun from row 3 at the start of the Indianapolis 500, claimed 10 cars right at the start, including myself. I had very minor damage, but it was one of those, you've got hidden damage, you know, and so you're slow all day long, and that was a long, miserable day. I did bring it home on the lead lap in 10th though, so salvage something, right?
Yeah, top 10's a top 10.
Hey, in that race, I think the top 10 paid, so you know, it was worth. It might have been, you know, I might have got my entry fee back plus $5 or something, but you know, that's something else to keep an eye on. This is a season-long championship, and so. This is a season-long championship, and so, you know, we need to be mindful. You know, you don't want to wreck out any of these things and get yourself in a hole in the points early. Pace car is off.
Yeah, and Edson Jose Santos rolling the field to the flag in green. Everyone still in line as we hurtle to turn 1. Oh, the entire field makes it through, but we have a move to the lead. May and Edson side by side. May's going to take the first lap. You don't have to lead every lap at this thing. Well, Julian Altoona takes the first lap. But you don't have to lead every lap here at Fontana to win. You just need to stay out in front, maintain your position. You know, it's not even the best to lead the entire time because you could save fuel by staying behind someone.
Yeah, and that's very true, and that's something that you're going to see experienced guys like Julian Altoona, Edson Santos, Nick Wheeler, some of those guys that we mentioned earlier that have a lot of experience in these cars. They're going to do one of two things. They're going to do what Julian and Curtis May are doing up at the front. They're going to swap. They're going to swap the lead back and forth and try to just make sure they hold their positions as we watch Edson Santos. We'll go back to Curtis May and Julian Altoona. But they're either going to be swapping the lead, trying to maintain the front two. It's very difficult to pass the leaders when they do that. Or you can do what Edson Santos, LGN, Gary Lovern are doing. You can sit back there and ride in Fuel 5, very light throttle, stay in that draft, and really extend the fuel window.
Yeah, because one of the things I like to do around here is, you know, not only the weight jacker, just the balance of the car, but it also slightly affects the rear ride height of the car, and you get higher top end speed by just maxing out negative.
You know, I wonder, and that's something to kind of think about too. You know, some of these guys in this series may be newer to the car. Certainly, many of them are. And so, while it's awesome that they're here, you know, you'd have to give the edge in a race like this to some of the veterans, because they're going to have the special tools, the quick jackers and things of that nature already pre-set up, and they may have, you know I have a notebook that tells me exactly where I want to be at any given point around a super speedway like California. And so the experience for Julian Altena, Edson Santos, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, those guys is gonna tell as we go through here.
Yeah, because there are a lot of quirks about this car, but also every track we go to on the schedule. Because one of the parts of Fontana that is a bit annoying and you have to drive around is the fact that on the exit of turn 4 on the very inside, there's a bump that will really unsettle your car if you hit it the wrong way.
Oh, for certain, sure. There's also, you know, we haven't seen it yet, but as we get closer to the end, we may see, depending on the rules package here, as we see Scott Schroeder go for the lead on Julian Altena. Curtis May is going to try to follow him through. But if you look at it this way as well, Ryan, guys are going to, you know, eventually they're going to start trying to use that apron, even if it's for the last lap. And trying to get down there is a tricky proposition at best. And so we very may well see somebody spin out trying to go for the lead on the last lap just because of the bumps getting off of 4 on the bottom.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard to get your car there, and once you get it there, you have to hold it there.
Absolutely. Scott Schrader has taken the lead from Julian Altena, and judging by the fact that Julian has not tried to go back to the front, I think he has decided to let Scott Schroeder be the rabbit, maybe, Ryan, and sit back there and save some gas. Same for Curtis May, Edson Santos, and LGN. They run 2, 3, 4, and 5. Gary Lovern is 6th, Mason Mitchum 7th, Dylan Brannon 8th, Jeff Perchatsky is 9th, and Steven Bruner is 10th. And we've got a wild snarl of cars back here, about 10th, 2x2.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you're in the middle of fields here, it can feel like you're in the middle of a hornet's nest, because you have to race defensively, where you have to be aware of everyone around you, how they're moving around the track. Is, you know, insert driver here able to hold their car in corner exits? Are they going to try to make runs out of the corners? It's being aware of your position on track and maintaining it.
You know, it very much is, and something you just kind of pointed out. You can get massive runs. Watch Akash Rajesh here. That is the number 07 machine. He is on the bottom in that black, red, and silver car. He had a huge run, went by 4 or 5 guys down into turn 1, and then lost it all down the backstretch. He's going to try to do the same thing in 3 wide on Lovern and Dylan Brannon. But that's kind of a risky move. You get down there, it may be okay now, but as those tires wear, it's going to get much, much more difficult to make that move. And we're right on board with Akesh. But it's going to get more and more difficult to make that move as the race goes on, because you just simply won't be able to get off the corner.
Yeah, it's like one of the benefits to actually running the high line is you preserve your tire, but also it puts you in a position where you could see more of the corner as you go through it, and, you know, find the open spots to work your way through the corner without having to worry about someone coming up the track into you. Like, sure, you might have to let off the gas, let a car on the inside through, but it's better than both of you being out of the race.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is, you know, some of those runs, and it looks like, Julian, we got an accident on the back that looks like Edson Santos. We stay green, but Edson Santos got up in the air. The right front suspension is askew on the 78. I also thought I saw Julian Altena either netcode the wall or get a piece of it. Julian soldiers on, but a rough start to this one for Edson Santos. He's going to need to come to pit lane and effect his fast repair. He'll lose at least 1 lap in that process.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Let's get a look at what happens to Edson here. Comes off a turn 2. It didn't quite get a great angle on that one. Let's go back one more time. It appeared to me that Julian Altena got a little bit high and just kind of grazes the wall right there. He comes... No, he stayed up there. Looked to me like maybe a little bit of netcode there, but Edson Santos runs over the back of Julian Altena, damages the right front of the Learner Energy number 78, and he'll need to come to pit lane to effect repair. Meanwhile, Josh Ward has gone to the lead of this thing.
And that's the name of the game here a lot of the time. Survival. Be on the lead lap when the white flag comes out.
You know, and that's something I tell guys that are new to this car, new to more full distance racing, above and beyond the regular fixed oval series that's usually 75 laps or so. You get into a full distance race, 200 miles or more. It's more about putting yourself into position to be in the discussion at the end, not necessarily leading right now. Now, certainly Josh Ward is leading the race. He may be preserving his tires. You get the best tire economy while you're leading, but you definitely burn more gas.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point where it's in some ways you have to let the race come to you. Don't try to force it. Like, you might not have leading pace compared to the field as it stands right now, but you don't know how it's going to play out, where you're going to be, where you're going to be 85 laps from now. Just let the race come to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're sitting here. We've got 17 out of 100 complete working lap 18, and Ryan, we've got guys, taking wild runs up the inside, forcing it 3 wide. We've seen it out of several cars already today, but we're also seeing the majority of the field now kind of do what you saw in the Race Spot US 500, the final, which I was in. I think I finished 8th in that race, but most of that 500 kilometers was spent with everybody riding in single file along the top, saving gas, preserving their chance to be in the discussion at the end. Very little. Now, there were people that went a little haywire at various points in the race and got in accidents, but for the most part, out of the 43 of us, 30 of us were content to kind of ride around in more or less single file around the top and save our stuff.
Yeah, because that's generally what I like to do in these super speedway races, where if I know I can't be at the very front, I'll stay at the tail end of the leading pack of cars. Just stay in the tow and see how things shake out after the first caution or pit cycle. Just keep myself in it and safe.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to pass them when they're parked on pit road under repair than it is out on the racetrack, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, and we are I haven't seen anything too aggressive so far, but it's, we still got four-fifths of this race to go, and we're going 3 wide.
Absolutely. Speaking of cars that may have been a little bit too aggressive or caught some damage, Nolan Crawley, Nelson Macias, Cordell Lofgren, and Edson Santos are all 1 lap down. All 4 of those machines have been to pit road for their fast repair. James Waring is out of the race. He did not take the start. He'll be credited with 28th place. So 27 cars running, 23 on the lead lap. At the 20% pole, Scott Schroeder leads it. Josh Ward second, Curtis May third, Akash Rajesh fourth, and Luis Gonzalez Nunez was fifth. Now he goes to fourth, and he'll be passed back for fifth. And it doesn't take much to gain or lose ground here, does it?
No, not at all. It's sort of one of those places where if you know how to drive the track, you can really punch your way through the field quickly. Even though, like you mentioned earlier, it might not be the most intelligent thing to do.
Yeah, and let's kind of ride along with Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I'm seeing here. LGN going down to the bottom. I don't think that's in an effort to pass anybody so much as it is just to get some clean air on the nose of that car, preserve the tires as we get toward the last third of this run. The other thing that I'm seeing is he's not shifting into fifth gear. It's constant sixth, and he pulled right up on the back of Steven Bruner earlier at the end of the straightaway. Perfect place to take a run, and you heard the revs drop. So there he is doing it again. Where, you know, fans, if you see him pull up and just pull up out of that run, that's a man that's saving his fuel, because that's exactly how you do it here.
Yeah, you pick your chances. When you know you can get a couple spots, you take it. Personally, I do tend to downshift at places like this just to help the car turn through the corner. But besides that, you want to keep as high a speed as possible, and you don't have to be full throttle all the time to do that.
Absolutely. Did want to thank our loyal fans in the chat. We do have a lot of people watching this race right now, so thank you to everybody that's in the chat and participating. The 09 that's being driven by Iker Peguero. Welcome, Iker. We've got a shout out for the 88 of Dan Adams. Matt Wagner, the stock car ace, would like us to know that we are all nerds, Ryan. So we can deal with Matty. We can deal with the stock car ace at a later time, right?
Yeah.
Christian Boss says, "Let's go, Jeff." Scott Schroeder, Steven Stevens advises that Scott Schroeder won't make it to lap 25. Well, we are on lap 25, and Scott Schroeder is still out there. He's running second, so great run for Scott. I don't think that prophecy came true. Matty Wagner, once again, describes himself as a talentless hack. So, Matt, just let us know, would you like us to change your name from the stock car ace to the talentless hack? We can definitely arrange that for you. And just so anybody out there doesn't get the wrong idea, Matt Wagner and I are teammates in the Dark Horse 2,000-mile ride series. So a little bit of good fun going on between friends there. A little bit of good fun going on between friends. Matt and I and Ryan and all for that matter are very well known to each other.
Things are getting a bit racy out in front. That gaggle that we saw in the middle of the field early in the races sort of moved its way up to the front as we see, 5 cars fighting for second place.
Yeah, you could throw a blanket over the top 6 at this point. I really like, though, the way that P7 and P8 are kind of dealing with this. And P9 for that matter. That's those are the cars of LGN, Gary Lovern, Will Stearns is in that. Will Stearns is in that deal, and Julian Altena. We're gonna see here in the next 5 laps. Really, I think, Ryan, the tail of the race.
Well, we have a number of cars calling to pit right now.
Yeah, that we see it now. So this is Scott Schrader coming to pit road. Whoa, get it woed up, boys. We got a car in the grass.
Oh!
Trying to find it there. That is Mark Miller. We'll go back and kind of watch what happened to Mark. And let's get in the car and ride along. He gets down to the commitment cone. Left front locked up, car just turned right on him, and that'll happen. A little bit too much front bias there, Ryan?
Yeah, too much front bias. We're generally here at Auto Club, I like to take pit lane easy. Yes, there's a lot of time to be gained through a fast stop, but it is not worth risking a penalty, and arguably missing pit lane entirely is even worse. I
was going to say, missing pit lane entirely without the resultant yellow, iRacing will not trigger that if you go through the grass. That's not part of the racing surface, so it's almost worse than getting a speeding ticket.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I practice. Like, it's the first thing that I do anytime I join a practice circuit for a split. It is you practice pit out, pit in, and the start if you can.
Absolutely. So reset the field for you. We've got pretty much everybody from 14th on back. Dylan Brannon, Akash Rajesh, Iker Piguero, Gregory Robinson, and others. Curtis May, Stephen Bruner, Armands Juan Petrovic. All of those guys coming on the pit lane here. And, you know, the point that I was about to make was that this is going to tell the tale of the race. If you can make it to lap 34 here, you are in an incredible position to do this in 2 stops, which will also save yourself a set of tires. If you're stopping now, you're making at least 2 plus a splash of gas at the end. Those guys that stopped back on lap 28, I don't know that they're not making this. They're not making this as just a straight 3 stopper.
Yeah, it is going to be dicey in terms of strategy. Like, you always want to be in a position, ideally having a pit stop in hand, especially around Fontana. You normally get a caution late in the race, and it's usually with enough time to have racing afterward. So if you can keep that fresh set of tires, it's like having I wouldn't say having like a new credit card, but it's that same kind of feeling.
Absolutely. Did want to highlight Luis Gonzalez Nunez, Gary Lovern have hit pit road, and so LGN brings it in. Now he just completed lap 34 coming across the stripe, and so LGN Gary Lovern, they are and Baron Glover, they are the first of this group that we think can do it on 2 stops. Mason Mitchum just now comes into the pits. He went an extra lap over everybody else. He went to 35, and that's a huge, huge deal here.
Yeah, that's a massive deal. If I'm him, I'm hoping this stays green the whole way, because you can effectively win the race by guaranteeing a 2-stop.
Absolutely. Now, it is worth pointing out that the guys that are on the 3-stop strategy are going to be faster. They're going to be running full rich, fuel position 1, stand on the gas, and go full tilt. They're anywhere between 2 and 3/10 a lap faster than the guys that are coasting around and making fuel. Josh Ward has gone back to the lead, by the way, and he has 1.9 seconds in hand. So Josh Ward has broken the draft.
And Mitchum has not pulled out of pit lane, so I don't know what is up with that.
Yeah, let's go back to Mason Mitchum. He been on pit lane for 1 minute and 15 seconds now, in the box for approaching 1 minute. Maybe you had some damage? I think maybe you could have gotten in the wall somewhere.
Well, let me scrub through the footage. Okay, he's leaving pit lane now. Oh, too fast entering.
Aha. So the dreaded speeding ticket gets Mason Mitchum, and that's going to drop him from what I would have viewed as probably the best position of the entire race, down to 24th, 1 lap in arrears. So 20 cars remain on the lead lap. We're watching Will Stearns and Dylan Brannon trade second, and that's important because they have made up a half a second on leader Josh Ward. They've also pulled out about 0.8 of a second on 4th place Steve Bruner. So they're doing 2 things. They're catching the leader, but they're also pulling away from that second group, and that second group really isn't all that well organized.
Yeah, and that's the thing here. When you deal with these pit cycles, it strings the field out, but you never want to be in a situation where you don't have anyone to tow off of and you're not the leader.
All right, man, caution is out. Caution is out.
We got a crash.
And as Justin Petchauer would say, that changes everything. Caution on the speedway, lap 38 of 100, just now 39 complete. and let's see if we can't find it here. There it is. That is Mark Miller involved. So let's see what befalls the 06 of Mark Miller here. He's going down into turn 1. And
I think it's Dan Adams.
yeah, the two cars in front make contact, and poor Miller just had nowhere to go. The car that was in front of Mark Miller, or the car that was in not Adams, not Dan Adams. I'm trying to get a read on who that other car is there.
Baron Glover was the other car, the car that got hit.
Gotcha. So let's go back and see if we can't get a better angle on Baron Glover here, because he's going to make contact with Dan Adams, and then that's going to result in a hard impact for Mark Miller. We're going to see the entire field, by the way, come back to pit road. Don't know that we'll see tires on many of those, judging from the time in pit lane, just side to side contact there. But what a save for the 93 machine.
Yeah, to just for the worst part of that damage being a hit to the side pod, and you don't have to worry about backing it up into the wall.
Yep. And what's even more wild about all this is that he's now the leader. So Baron Glover, involved in the accident, doesn't hit anything, does not pit under the yellow that he's involved in, and he will assume the lead of this race. Josh Ward is second. Armand Juan Petrovich is third. Dylan Brandon fourth. And Akash Rajesh round out your top 5. May, Stern, Schroeder, Bruner, and Nick Wheeler your top 10. Julian Altena, Edson Santos, Ashton Kosner, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and Gary Lovern. Back to 15th, Sam Kosner, Turner Johnson, Gregory Robinson, Iker Piguero, Nelson Macias, Jeff Perchatsky, Shane Coker, and Nolan Crowley are all still on the speedway, and they're going to take the wave around here.
Yep, and I think Glover realized he shouldn't have tried to take a wave around.
You know, they'll get you for that, Ryan.
It's like, what if just wanted to put the whole field a lap down?
they'll jump on you for that. No, and that's experience versus not. He's in there. He might not be used to that. Might not be used to being up front. I tell you, even people's experiences, us run into that. I was racing in a truck race at Bristol the other night and realized that I had never done a restart as the leader in a race with a restart zone, because we don't have them.
Yeah, we don't. But, things changed recently in real life IndyCar, so who knows? It might come to the service one day.
Please no. I think the restart zone, if I got to be honest, I think the restart zone causes more issues really than anything else.
Yeah, because it creates it creates a point of no return where everyone assumes, okay, if we haven't gone green, we're going to go green right now. And I say that as we're rolling towards the flag.
Green, green, green.
And indeed we do. I mean, and it's just me. I mean, my opinion is the starts are so slow that it almost guarantees cars bouncing off each other in the back of the field. And so, I would much rather see a no pace car leader controlled restart where you can just go whenever you want almost.
Yeah, that's the more safe strategy because you don't get the gamesmanship.
For sure. Just everybody goes on the car in front. Speaking of the car in front, Josh Ward has reassumed the lead of this race. Baron Glover has fallen back to 5th. I don't know how wise that was to stay out there.
Like, yeah, even beyond the potential damage that could be on the car, just the caution was an opportunity to guarantee you only had to make one stop to make it to the end.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about a mega fuel save anymore. You know, if you stop at lap 40, well, you know, if you can save it till what, lap 72?
Yeah, 72 is close enough to make it.
Yeah, you can make it full rich, you know, and then anything past that's just gravy. You know, that's less time spent on pit lane for the fuel that you don't have to take. Tires take, what, 7 seconds, is it?
Yeah, 7 seconds, but if you're filling up the tank, it's not that important.
Right. If my pit lane tables serve me, the first 11 gallons are free.
Yes.
With the tire change. So we're not going to get down that low, but if you've only got to take 16 and a half as opposed to 18 and a half, you might save yourself half a second on pit lane. Well, half a second is an eternity at a 2-mile super speedway.
Slowly Glover's fallen back down the order, but everyone else is making their way up to the front of the field, and we're starting to get that pack to build up again.
Absolutely we are. Dylan Brannon, we see, just took the lead back from Josh Ward. And give a shout out to Will Stearns running there in 3rd. That is a regular Tuesday night top split contender. So good to see Will in the series, running up toward the front. Give a call down to Julian Altena. Brushed the wall earlier, was kind of involved in an indirect way in the accident that befell Edson Santos. Julian's got himself back up to 7th, put a new pair of boots on that car. And Julian looking kind of racy here as we get into closing in on halfway. So, Ryan, what's your favorite race that you've participated in here? You have one?
Ooh, not one off the top of my head, because I've been in so many Fontana races that have gone down to not only the last lap, not only the last corner, but the run to the line.
Yeah, that run to the line gets frenetic, and I've actually got 2, and both of them were in the VOR series. So the first one, I beat Matthias Strauss.
Yes.
To the line by, I don't know, a couple of inches, and won myself the championship. But the other one that I have to cite is a race I did not win. So Strauss returned the favor and beat me to the line by 2 inches to end the next season. And Matthias, the wild thing about that one was that finish was 5 wide.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to get a 5 wide finish here, because while you can carry a lot more speed around the outside, the distance around the bottom is so much shorter. So a lot must have happened to allow a finish like that.
Well, Matthias and I got to banging wheels in turn 4 for one thing, and then he hit the bump kind of wrong getting onto the apron, and so I had a head of steam. I was back probably, front wing to middle side pod, and was able to, hit the bump wrong, so he lost all of his momentum. Meanwhile, Julian and Josh Tucker and Jesper Orman were all right behind me, and they just fanned out in a line with a huge run on the top. And we all start banging wheels toward the finish line. If you look at the racetrack, the seams that you see up there, fans, each one of those seams represents a lane. And so when I run here, and Ryan, you can verify this or not, but when I run it here, I almost line my car up to go through the corners based on the seams. Like, that's how I know, okay, don't drive into the car to my left or right, by where those seams are.
Yes, where I mentally use the seams as lane lines, where I want to, enter, say, at the top, on the top lane, and then arc it down to, say, the second to bottom lane, and use that as literal markers to work my way around the track.
Yeah, and you got to be careful, though. If you get your right rear, especially on, like, directly on one of those seams at the apex, there is no grip. The track itself is asphalt. The seams, though, are tar, and there's no grip on that tar. And so you just saw it. With Dylan Brannon. He kind of got on one of those seams at exit. It unloaded him, and he about spun the car out, and that's going to put Julian Altena up to third place. And speaking of places really fast, did want to thank John D for joining us. Welcome to the Jungle Indeed, John. Kyle Clinworth in the house. Clindy giving us a shout out. So that's a much more rapid guy than I am. Ryan, he's been tearing it up lately. That guy.
Yeah, like it's hard to argue that he isn't that fast.
He had a bit of a contretemps, as Jackie Stewart would say, with Robert Malechka last night. But Clindy always fast, always at the front. Good to see him joining us on a rare night off for Kyle Clinworth. And a shout out to Motorsport and Crawley from Scott Diamond and A Roller Elephants. So good to have them along as well. Still a large number of people, Ryan, are watching this broadcast. So that's awesome to see.
So I just want to back it up a bit to the last restart that happened in the race, where Edson Santos was given a black flag for moving out of line during the restart. And subsequently, he's decided to just drop out the race. Which, honestly, I'm going to have to agree with him, because he was very vocal on the radio where the incident was unfair. Because looking at the replay, seemingly the line checked up, and he pulled out of line to avoid going into the back of Julian Altena.
Indeed, I see, and that is something. I'm not here to criticize the rules. I didn't make them, but they were very clear about pulling in and out of line and not making any passes until the start finish. We have caution on the speedway.
Oh yeah, we have an accident. Oh, big one on the exit of turn 2.
Yes, we do. Turner Johnson, Ashton Cosner involved. Multiple cars. Let's see what we can see here. So that's Turner Johnson, and then he gets just absolutely run over by the pink car there. I can't tell who that is. My eyes have failed me. Iker Piguero is involved, and we'll go back and see what happened to Iker. Let's get on board the right front. Don't see Iker hit anything.
Seems like it starts at the front of the field between Curtis May.
Well, let's take a look at Curtis. All right, so Curtis kind of tags the Alexander Rossi Napa machine. He goes for a spin, and I think that's cars behind him checking up. And when they checked up, they lost the center of pressure on the car, and around they went.
Yeah, it just, when you check up in these cars, you're not only slowing down. When you slow down, you turn off the downforce.
Yeah, and so that's something that That's something that that a lot of people who may not follow these cars regularly may not understand. You know, why do you see Indy cars especially travel at full speed through an accident scene? Well, the answer is if you were to lift in the middle of the corner, lifting changes what's called the center of pressure. All the cars are on pit road, by the way, but and we'll follow the stop for Luis Gonzalez Nunez. But when you lift, it transfers the weight of the car from the front to the back, lifts the nose up, and it puts all the grip on the rear wheels. And so essentially what you're doing in a spot where you've already got the left or the right rear loaded is you're putting all the pressure on the right rear, and you're just going to spin the car out. And that's what happened at the top of your screen to Turner Johnson and others. They got there, they saw the wreck, they lifted, and instantly they had no control over their Dallara IR18s.
Yeah, it's sort of one of the things you learn with experience, how to drive these cars into an accident, where obviously you're not going full, flat out through an accident. Don't do that. It's sort of, you need to ease into it. You need to slowly let off the throttle and bring your car down to pace car speed gradually.
Very true. Very true. Just kind of crack the throttle. Don't back all the way out of it all at once, because it's very easy to spin these cars out. Nielsen Macias, by the way, has gone to lead, and we're watching Nielsen in that white, green, and green liveried IR18. He's followed by Julian Altena in the VOR sponsored car. No surprise there, since he owns that lead. So, but good to see a lot of community support like that with league owners from different series coming to run other people's stuff. Would love to see that. Third place is Will Stearns. That's the number 306. Kind of a Spider-Man looking deal. Red with black and white interlaced stripes on his car. Josh Ward, maybe a Connor Daly fan, you think?
Maybe.
Either that, or it's just a cool looking hot rod. But always neat to see that Air Force livery. Do love it with the A10 the A10 shark nose on the front with the teeth. That always looks cool. And then round out your top five. It's Curtis May dressed as Alexander Rossi. Getting ready to come back to the green flag. Macias is going to get on the loud pedal, and we'll show you the restart from where all of these drivers want to be at the end. That is victory lane, looking out toward the green flag. 60 of 100 complete here at California. Will Stearns looking racy tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, Will's been out in front for most of the race distance. You couldn't ask for a better day so far for Will.
No, it would be an awesome thing to welcome Will Stearns to the broadcast booth, victory circle, an interview. That's a long-time competitor, and he definitely deserves to have a good run. Stearns' livery is very Van Halen, says Adam Eric 85. Well, I'm not a Van Halen guy, so wouldn't necessarily know that. I'm more Hank Williams and George Strait. How about that? Love this drone shot we've got going, Ryan. Really kind of conveys the maneuverability of these cars.
And also the scale of this place and how fast we're moving.
You know, one thing we can do to show that, let's see if we got one of the blimps You can see the field just on the left side of your screen, fans. They're going to come out from behind the speed shot. They're behind the thing. They're working down the back straight at the top of your screen. You see just how massive this track is and how fast they're hauling it. The best lap right now, Nielsen Macias, and we'll go back to regular camera shot. Best lap, Nielsen Macias right now, 221.265 miles an hour. So that means you're hitting what, 230 and change at the top of the front stretch there.
So you can go.
Whoa, we got trouble.
Oh no!
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
Massive wreck into.
Now, that got started with contact between Curtis May and the 4. That's Dylan Branson. So kind of walk us through what happens there, Ryan.
Yeah, seemingly we get through 1, we're heading into 2, and Branson moves down into May's right front tire, and he gets turned around, and when you start sliding, you start slowing down, and the rest of the field had nowhere to go but into his car.
Yeah, poor Steven Bruner had nowhere to go. Neither did Julian. Looks like Altena is going to be able to at least make it back to pit lane and affect his fast repair. But that was a rough lick for a lot of guys. Just kind of going through. You've got the 5 of Prochatsky involved. He's gonna make a hit on Bruner, then nose into the wall, parts and suspension pieces flying, and then right at the end, you see guys still, they're trying to get out of the power and losing their maneuverability and hitting each other.
Yeah, because once you get 3-4 cars involved, you start losing the whole track, and there's no way you could drive through it or around it or even slow down because you got to worry about the cars coming in behind you.
Absolutely. Now we'll go to Julian Altena and we'll show you the fast repair process here, fans. So Julian, you see the nose is hanging on by a thread. The suspension on the front is broken. He's going to pull into his pit box, and the magic of technology, Julian has entered his spare car. Down and away he goes. Nobody is the wiser, and I don't even think he got tires there.
No, because fast repair also replaces the tires.
See, I did not know that until very recently, and it cost me a dark horse race.
Wow.
I did not know that a fast repair changed the tires independent of the sets that were on pit lane. So that cost me a dark horse race. I ran out of tires.
Yeah, so that's I think I learned that in ARCA, where it's you get the fast repair, and the first thing I learned from people is if you're going to take the fast repair, uncheck the tires.
See, and I didn't run much ARCA, so when I came in iRacing, I ran probably a dozen races, but I'm not much of a crasher. And so most of my oval experience didn't come from ARCA, it came from USF 2000. It was because they ran those cars at Charlotte. I spent 2 full seasons in those cars. They ran those at Charlotte and New Hampshire. They would run them at Milwaukee. I think we did IRP. But they run those cars on 4 or 5 ovals a season. At least they did back then. And it was enough as a D license race to then propel you into C. C was Indy cars and trucks. And so I went from really rookies to USF 2000 to IndyCar / trucks. And then up from there. And of course now they've moved IndyCar in line with the Xfinity Series as a B car, which probably is an intelligent thing to do. I don't think many people have much business jumping from an ARCA car into one of these things.
Oh, 100%. They should not be doing that. To me, for the open wheel cars, probably that last gap, I'd really like to see Indy Lights, well now Indy Next, as a C-Class car. But I don't think the service would ever add another open wheel oval car at this point.
No, and granted, you've got the Dallara Dash, so people have the opportunity. They can go run, they can go run the old IndyCar on free tracks for as unranked, and so the opportunity certainly exists to get high speed oval experience in meme form, I guess. But I definitely think I'm glad that they moved. I'm glad they moved this car up so that at least you had to do something with some horsepower before you got to Indy cars.
Yeah, arguably the fastest oval cars on the service.
I don't think that's arguable. Well, they do run the IR01 on ovals sometimes,
Green
don't
flag, green flag.
Yeah.
Green flag back in the air, Ryan.
The faster cars are still have most of the field here. The way I moved up to the service, when I first got iRacing, I moved up racing on Arco on a keyboard at the time because I didn't have a wheel yet. And I won 4 in a row at Myrtle Beach on a keyboard.
I can't even imagine that, like what that's like.
All right, man. Caution is out.
We got caution
out.
on the speedway. There's a car. There's a
Yeah.
car wrecked on the bottom.
Of turn 1, single car incident.
Nick Wheeler spins it down to the bottom in turn 1, and let's go back and see what befell Nick. He's already got the rear wing broken.
Yeah, that's not a good sign when you're entering turn 1.
No, and maybe he doesn't know it. Maybe he doesn't have the button mapped to tell him if there's damage. So he had been around on the front straight, and here we go. Okay, so there's Nick Wheeler, and that is the 4 of Dylan Brannon, I believe. Ooh, cars got checked up. So cars got checked up on the start, and poor Nick Wheeler gets rear-ended. That's the 51 of. Well, you see the 81 pull out of line. So there was a checkup in front. Wheeler gets clouded by Dylan Brannon. Goes for a spin through the infield, and then I think he gets down into turn 1 and he doesn't know the rear wing's gone.
Yeah, he doesn't know. And like honestly, those are the kind of accidents you're gonna see when you harshly penalize moving out of line, because you have no other option. It intensifies the accordion effect. If someone checks up, your only option is to also check up.
That's very true. And I'm sure Shane will go back and look at these incidents. But here's Nick Wheeler, and we'll show him, full speed. He's going to go down to turn 1. Doesn't know it, and just around he goes. One more time from the gyro cam, just so that the people at home can see it. He didn't even move the wheel, and it spins on him. So Nick Wheeler has gone to the pit lane. He has effected the fast repair to the purple and gold machine there, back on the speedway. He is 1 lap down, and from being wrecked and in the pit lane with no front end, guess who leads this thing?
Julian Altena.
Not only that, he's got his teammate Gary Lovren in 3rd, Scott Schroeder is 2nd, Gary Lovren is 3rd, Baron Glover is 4th, and then our buddy Luis Gonzalez Nunez is 5th. He was 21st not too long ago. So LGN, good on him to get back up there. All of these guys, 5 laps on their current run. Don't know if they can make it to the end, and this is kind of the poker being played. Who's going to stop and who is not?
It's like, I think at this point, with a caution, they should have enough to make it to the end.
There's going to be some people in the back that take. We're seeing some people come. Prochaska is in. Dan Adams is on the pit lane already. Turner Johnson. These guys are all coming to pit road, but and not a bad move, I don't think, for them. If you get a green flag run here, come throw on your last set, fill it full of gas. You can go full juice all the way, right?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about saving. You can take the lead need be. You don't have to worry about your tires. You just go for it.
Great point. Now, Turner Johnson may have had some damage there because he's been in his box now for 21 seconds and change. Prochaska was in for a mere 4 seconds, and now down and away for Turner Johnson. 29 seconds in the box. Don't have to worry about that. These laps take about 1:45 under caution, and so you can pull in here, and if you need be, run to the restroom. I've done that. One of my favorite iRacing stories. Jesper Orman, not soon after I was invited to join the Indy Alliance racing team, we were running Kentucky as the green flag gets ready to fly for Julian, Scott Schroeder, and Gary Lovern. He famously had to stop early in the race.
Green, green, green.
Under a caution when nobody else did because he had to use the bathroom. He goes on and wins a race on fuel mileage, and and then proudly exclaims in the interview room that he'd had a couple of drinks before and needed to use the restroom. So that does happen, and sometimes it can work to your advantage. I feel safe telling that story, Ryan, because Jesper told on himself in the interview with Gary later.
Fair. If you say it, and it's recorded, it is on the record, as I learned through covering IndyCar this year.
Is that right? So you got any nuggets for us that you can share about the upcoming Nashville race?
Upcoming Nashville race. In the post-race press conference after the first race in Milwaukee, it was the second race. Actually, I say that. It was actually pre-race before the weekend in Milwaukee, where Will Power's number one complaint was, he wished the tires at the mile were softer. And that's not going to be an issue anymore for Nashville because we're going to see the alternate compound tire back in an oval race.
Yeah, that's definitely going to spice things up a little bit, make it quite a bit more interesting. You get the soft compound, especially a track like Nashville. That, I mean, it's rough. We got a car on the wall in the back. That's Will Stearns.
Oh no!
That's Will Stearns and Curtis May sliding toward the infield. No caution and a tough break for Will Stearns. Let's see what happens to these two. They're going 3 wide into turn 1.
And they're real close to the wall.
Yeah, Curtis May is way up there. Will is, I mean, he's up there too. And it kind of is just almost one of those deals where iRacing almost just pulls them together.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it is, these are the fastest oval cars on the service, and when you're running this close with even the best ping imaginable, the service still has to guess to where your car is when you're moving that fast.
Yeah, and that's something that I preach all the time in social media and iRacing groups and so forth, and when I work with newer drivers is you got to understand, we are racing, we're competing in something that is at its heart, at its core, NASCAR 2003, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it was built for NASCAR racing, and so those cars, restricted at Daytona 200 miles an hour. If you're going 200 miles an hour even here, you're 3 or 4 seconds off the pace. And so, these guys are hitting, at that point where contact was made, they're well over 220 miles an hour in a draft. Sometimes I don't think the service can quite keep up. And look, no disrespect to either one of those drivers. I've run with Will Stearns a lot. He's not a blinker. He's not a guy with bad ping. That's just a situation where, sometimes, the system gets it wrong, and it's, in my opinion, kind of just like a blown engine or, a flat tire or anything else. It's something outside of your control.
Yeah, it's something outside of your control. You can drive around it by simply just trying to stay away from other cars, but especially at this point of the race, you don't want to be thinking about that. You want to be trying to push your way up the field.
Yeah, speaking of pushing away up the field, Nielsen Macias went from 6th to second in one corner. He pushes his way up to second place. Julian leads it. Now here's the thing on Nielsen Macias. He's got more fuel on board by 5 laps. Now granted, those were caution flag laps, but he last stopped 9 laps in his current stint. He was one of those takers at lap 72.
Yep. Car into the grass, saved it.
Stay with the battle for the lead here. Will Stearns, by the way, has come back out. He's effected the fast repair and come back out. He is 3 laps down, scored in 20th position. So this is kind of the thing, right? Julian, Akash Rajesh, Scott Schrader, Gary Lovren, LGN, those guys are going to have to save a little bit to make this, don't you think?
Yeah, they have enough fuel to make it, but they can't go full throttle the entire time. They have to pick and choose when to save it. Generally, I try to front load it, just keep saving fuel until I know I can make it to the end full throttle. I don't know what their strategy is going to be, but they do have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and look, I mean, my rule of thumb is, we'll kind of show from Scott Schroeder's cockpit view. All the numbers are going to be zeroed out except the distance of the car forward. That's so people streaming can't check in and look at your dashboard settings. But one of those numbers that you see there is fuel remaining. There's a formula that's in my head every time I come to Michigan or Fontana. You know what that is, Ryan?
What is it?
Divide by 2. So whatever that number on the dash is, multiply that by 2, and that's how many laps of gas you got left. Once that number gets to the point where I've got 10 laps to go and 5 gallons left in the tank, you can run it full. You can run it full tilt then, right? Because max fuel burn is about half a gallon a lap, give or take. We'll go back outside the car now, but there's a lot of information available to the drivers in here.
Yeah, a lot of information, because if you use your dash, they tell you what your MPG is. You know what your burn rate is on fuel.
You do indeed. Speaking of burn rates, Luis Gonzalez Nunez does not look like he's concerned about burn rates. He is racing hard with Scott Schrader there. Scott is 4th, LG in 5th. The front 5 have more or less kind of sorted themselves into a single file situation. Now, there's a lap car there. He's going to wisely get out of the way. But it gives you kind of that idea of what they're looking at, and you can hear LGN even now saving fuel.
It's one of those things where you really, it's either you make it or you don't. There's no way, like, unless there's a caution and you do get the opportunity to stop, outside of that, if you don't have enough fuel to make it, you are not finishing this race.
No, and you're not going to stop either. I mean, I can't remember who it was, but there was one of these. There was one of these where one of the guys at the front ran out, coming off of 4, and we had a massive accident coming to the flag because the leaders ran out of gas coming to get the checkers. So there's the specter of that too. You don't want to run out in the middle of the field.
Yeah, because I know certain people are mindful of when everyone around them last stopped, but I tend to not be that kind of person, so it is a surprise to me when I see someone else run out of fuel, and yes, evasive maneuvers have to be made sometimes.
Yeah, and you see Julian and LGN falling back here. I think that's fuel, right? Same with Baron Glover, Scott Schrader. Those guys have fallen back to 8th and 9th. They were leading this thing not too long ago. Meanwhile, back at the front, Josh Ward is now swapping the lead with.
Oh, we got a big accident added too.
Caution is out.
All right, let's see. We're going to focus in on Arman Juan Petrovich. Here, he's going to go to the inside of Julian. And that is Armand's. He's going to go to the inside of Julian. Apron bad.
Apron rail bad.
And then just nowhere to go for the cars behind him. 2 other automobiles involved. Now, the good news is that's going to be... The good news is Armand's has not used his fast repair yet. So he should be able to bring that car back to pit lane, and you see it. He's on pit lane, so he should be able to affect his fast repair. Although, unfortunately, I think he had to tow, and so he's going to lose a lap. Prochatsky is on pit road, not on pit road, excuse me. He is blinking. Dylan Brannon. Curtis May still sits on pit road. 8 minutes, 9 minutes in the box. Dan Adams been on pit road for almost 15 minutes. I think it would be safe to say those gentlemen are more than likely just chilling in the cars, watching the broadcast, just to be in the session to see what is likely going to be an electric finish. And we've got cars headed for pit lane. So Scott Schroeder, Julian Altena, Shane Coker are gonna come to pit road.
Yeah, because not only can they take a splash of fuel to ensure they'll make it, they can get a fresh set of tires.
I was gonna say that fresh set of stones is more what I think they're worried about here.
Yeah, it's like I hate to say it, but like I really hate these sprint finishes on super speedways because absolutely anything could happen.
Absolutely anything can happen. The good news is for Julian, Shane, and Scott Schrader. The good news is for those guys. There's 13 cars on the lead lap here.
Yep.
It's under 10 to go, so the lappers are going to get waved to the back. So they're going to line up. Julian's going to line up the 10th car in 10th place on freshies. After a couple of laps, he is going to be Superman. He's going to be able to put that car wherever he wants it to go. The issue with that is there going to be a roadblock in front of it. Sometimes you do that, you get in the back, you put on fresh tires, and if they're 4 wide in front of you, you just simply aren't going to be able to go anywhere.
Yeah, there's no hole to pass a car through.
Very true. Scott Schroeder runs 9th. He also has fresh tires, so he's the first one with freshies. Iker Piguero in the Krispy Kreme machine. Quiet day in 8th. Likewise for Gary Lovern in the red and black VOR sponsored car. Quiet day for Gary. He's hung around the top 10 for most of the evening, but solid run for Gary. Give
Let's
it.
see, lights out on the pace car, meaning we'll get a 6-lap sprint to the end.
We will indeed. Looking at Baron Glover in 6th. We've talked about LGN, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, quite a bit this evening. He is 5th. Mason Mitchum. Now there's a car wasn't, was he the one that got the speeding ticket earlier?
Yes.
So Mason Mitchum now runs 4th. Akash Rajesh has been extremely racy. That car is 3rd for Akash. Nice looking hot rod. Got him some gold hubcaps on that thing. And then the Air Force car of Josh Ward and the familiar white and green Brazilian colors for Nielsen Macias.
No, Macias is actually trying to burn fuel heading to the line.
And that could be, sometimes you want to make the car as light as possible. They've had enough caution. It might be that they've got too much at this point.
That is true. And, we're about to go green with how close.
Whoa, we got cars in the wall. Julian.
Oh, no!
No, Macias gets hit by Ward.
Caution is out. Caution is out.
High drama at the end of the NASR Votive Racing League California 200 late race restart. The leader taken out with a hit from behind. Let's watch it here. We're gonna see it from. I'll tell you what. Let's look at it from Josh Ward. There is nothing Josh Ward could have done. Nielsen Macias spun the tires.
Yeah.
Ward was nowhere near him. Meanwhile, there was action further back in the pack. We had a huge stack up. That's Iker Peguero. He also loses the tires. That causes Julian Altena to get into the rear of Scott Schrader. It breaks the front wing on Altena's car, but then it snaps back into place. Schrader has a broken rear wing, though.
And yeah, race control giving Julian a warning for pulling out of line, which honestly, I'm gonna be blunt here. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's nowhere for him to go. If Julian goes straight there and holds his line, Scott Schroeder is out of the race, and everybody behind Julian is out of the race. So, we're not race control up here, but definitely want to take a look at that. Maybe taking evasive action should always be allowed. But poor Nielsen Macias, just a mistake, lights up the rear tires, and he's going to be definitely toward the rear of this thing. He'll come to pit lane. He has taken his fast repair, but as long as that's just a nose, he should be in good shape.
Yeah, it should be just a wing change, so I think he should be fine. He's not out of it yet.
No, and we're gonna get what, 3 laps, maybe. There's the new wing on number 2 machine, and he'll rejoin the action. He'll be 13th. Scott Schrader has already been to pit lane and effected the fast repair, so back out for him. No issues with his Delar. The thing that you worry about with Macias, is there any hidden damage? Is there stuff that they can't fix? Is the floor damaged? Has he hit the diffuser? Those are things that iRacing will not allow you to fix. And so,
yeah,
golly, Ryan, how many times have we had that where you brush the wall or brush somebody, and you look down at the dash and you're 50 RPM short.
Yeah, and you're just like, how did that magically go away? And it's frustrating, especially at places like Fontana in Michigan, where the car it's so car dependent that you can't drive around losing even the smallest amount of performance.
Yeah, very true. I mean, you don't think of 50 or 100 RPM as a whole lot, but my goodness, here at a place like this where you're trimmed out, and at the end of this thing, fans, the lights are out on the pace car. We're going to get 3 laps, so 6 miles. You're not going to take your foot off the hammer for those 6 miles.
Yeah, once it goes green, my foot is not coming up until I see the checkered flag or God.
Yeah, that was actually the call. There was a late race restart in the Indy Elite Series at Texas, and I was teamed with Julian for that race, and I think I restarted like 5th or 6th in the final restart, and Julian called that. There was like 5 to go or something, and we'd put on fresh tires and we were restarting 5th or 6th or whatever. And Julian gets on the radio, and he's a lap down, not in contention. He gets on the radio and says, "All right, Marky Boy." He calls me Marky Boy. So, "All right, Marky Boy, don't take your foot off until you see that the checkers are Jesus." And we wound up 3rd, so it kind of worked maybe, which I'm almost more proud of that result than any other I've ever done. If you knew how different the setup was on our cars compared to the power teams, the i5Gs and the hyper slides and the IRs at that time. I wasn't on that team. It's almost a miracle that we were able to do that. But pace car is off. We're going to go from the flag stand. Barney has it.
Green, green, green.
3 miles in a trophy dash, Ryan.
We said earlier, anything could happen.
And it already has on the front stretch. Multiple cars.
I guess that's the race.
Are around, and that is going to be the event. Poor Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and that is not LGN's fault. I wonder how he got damage.
Yeah, and
so we're gonna have a finish under yellow. Trying to see.
And all I'm gonna say is, it took a really long time for anyone to pull out a line to avoid it.
Yeah, and we've got Scott Schroeder with damage. Tough end to his day. See what befell the 74 car here. Yep, just the concertina. Stern 81 checks up. Stearns gets into the back of Schroeder, and guys did. They held their line straight. I guess if you're going to give a penalty for that, they're not really going to have much of a choice. But a tough way to end this one. Josh Ward is going to be your winner. Akash Rajesh second, and Mason Mitchum will round out your top 3 when it's all said and done. Gary Lovern, fine run to 4th, and well, positions are changing, and look at, there are guys out there with severe damage. Baron Glover, look at that car. It doesn't have to go back green flag racing, but that's probably a good thing for Baron, don't you think?
Yeah, you just drag the car across the line and secure the position.
I hope he doesn't have, and I hope he doesn't have, one of the high definition expensive wheels, because it is painful when you've got a front wheel vibrating around like that. I have a DD2 and a podium wheel, and that is not fun when it's like that. It feels like the whole steering wheel is going to vibrate off the rig.
Yeah, because you get that repetitive wrenching through the wheel.
Yeah, and that's something that people don't take into account either. Especially some of the newer guys. If you've got the high definition equipment, the high end Moses, the Fanatec podiums, the semi cubes of the world, you can hurt yourself doing this. Especially in these cars where they're direct drive, there's no power steering. The steering wheel is connected to a shaft that's connected to a steering gear that is connected to the suspension, right?
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I very, very quickly learned to take my hands off the wheel.
Well, thankfully I still have a belt-driven wheel, so it isn't an issue for me. But it's definitely one of those things where you learn, like, uh, obviously not being in a real car, the wheel is your point of contact with the road. Regardless if it's steering, you feel everything through the wheel.
Absolutely. So there's the checkered flag. Barney with it in the air. Jeff Ward, your winner. Akash Rajesh second. Mason Mitchum third. There comes Baron Glover in fourth. Lovern will round out your top five. Everybody limping at home. And we'll see if we can't get... see if we can't see what we can see from Josh Ward here, coming back toward the front stretch. You know, this is my favorite place to win. By the way, this in Michigan.
They still have Victory Lane out in the open.
That's right. You can go to Victory Lane. You can also go to Victory Lane at New Phoenix, which I do so very much enjoy. I wish they would put that in on every track where you had a way to get to Victory Lane, because I'm not much on the burnouts. But I do like going to Victory Lane for sure.
That's true, because at a lot of the ovals, like, it's Victory Lane is usually just right behind the pit wall. If it wouldn't take too much to allow access there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's your winner, the 92 at Josh Ward. We'll go ahead and get the results up here. Maybe. There we go. So Josh Ward, the winner. He stopped 4 times, led 33 laps, and he will take home the hard charger, I am sure. He started 24th. Akash Rajesh is second from 12th starting spot, rounding out the podium. Mason Mitchum. He started 5th and finished 3rd, so up front all day, although there were some trials and tribulations for him to get back to that spot. Baron Glover in the 93 will finish 4th, and Gary Lovern, well done for Gary. He'll round out the top 5. Iker Piguero is 6th, Julian Altena 7th, Shane Coker 8th, Gregory Robinson 9th, and Scott Schroeder will come home 10th. In 11th, Jeff Perchatsky. 12th, Nielsen Macias. He did have the fastest lap, but he's going to come home 1 lap down. Dylan Brannon in 13th, 2 laps down, Nick Wheeler in 14th, and then 15th, Arman Juan Petrovich. 16th, LG and our good friend, 3 laps down, Luis Gonzalez Nunez. 17th, Sam Cosner. 18th, Will Stearns. An unfortunate break drops him to a crash 3 laps down, but among the contenders all day. Ashton Cosner, 19th, 5 laps down. Turner Johnson is 20th. 21st, Nolan Crowley. And then out of the race, Curtis May in 22nd, Dan Adams 23rd. Stephen Bruner will be credited with 24th, Cordell Lofgren 25th. Edson Santos, 26th. Mark Miller, 27th. James Warning, 28th. And rounding out the field, Angelo Espo did not take the start. Neither did James Warning. James Warning did take the start. No, neither of them took the start. So Warning and Espo did not take the start. They will be credited with 28th and 29th, respectively. We're going to get our replays queued up here. And we'll see if we can't get the top 3 to join us. Appreciate everybody's patience. Let's scroll on down here. And we do have the entire podium in the waiting room. So let's go ahead and bring up Mason Mitchum. Mason, Mark Murphy in the P1 commentary booth with the wreck, Ryan Eric King. Well done on your run to P3. Mason Mitchum, you got a copy?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. So welcome to the podium. It's Mark Murphy and Ryan Eric King in the P1 broadcasting booth. Tell us a little bit about your day. You were up at the front. You started up there. Got a pit lane penalty.
Yeah, it was just one of those races where, the first whole stint was just a lot of fuel saving, and that's pretty much what I was going for. I would, got up to first. I had a good strategy. And then naturally, like any good strategy, I had to find a way to mess it up and get a black flag there on that first stint. And then I just had to fight my way back, get lucky dog, and then, there I was at the end, just kind of working my way up the field. That's pretty much all there was to it.
Very good. Ryan, do you have anything for our third place finisher?
Yeah, how was that with the fight back after getting that black flag, having to not only take the penalty, but, be at the back of the field and work your way through the field, especially what happened during the closing stages of this race?
Yeah, I think a lot of the restart, there's a lot of restart issues where probably just people were being super aggressive. I think there's a lot of people, different skill levels, and, they want to come out here and do their best. Totally get that. Just kind of avoiding that. Just at the end of the day, trying to stay safe is the name of the game. That's all there was to it.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mason. Do you have any friends, family, sponsors you would like to get a shout out to? And by the way, I have to compliment you. That's a good looking mission hot rod you got there.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I saw it on there. I was like, I gotta roll with this. But I did join Royalty Motorsports. Just started up with them recently, so I think we'll see what happens with that. And other than that, I don't think there's anyone else necessarily that was watching, but maybe in the future they will be, and I can have someone to shout out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mason, for joining us in the booth. Congratulations on your podium. Keep going fast and having fun, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
That was Mason Mitchum, our third place finisher. Give it just a second, and we'll get Akash Rajesh up into the booth. Akash, this is Mark in the P1 broadcasting booth. Do you have a copy, sir?
Yep, I got you.
Very good. Well, first of all, I'm sure we've been saying your name wrong. So we've been saying it Akash Rajesh all night. Is that accurate, or do we need to make sure we clean that up a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. It's better than what my colleagues got for me, so.
Oh, dear.
Perfect. Well, you run second today. You were worth the price of admission during the early part of the race. Tell us a little bit about your day and how it kind of played out for you.
Hello? I don't got a copy anymore.
Well, basically, assume Mark wanted to. We want to hear how your day went to race through the field and be able to finish second.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm not very good at qualifying on these like speedway style tracks. It's something I've been working on, but I can never get to grip with it. Which time is just not that good. But I knew that I could make this up during the race, and yeah, I think the first half of the race was really fun because the first like 5-10 laps just kind of settling in, getting used to how this car felt in these conditions, and then I saw everyone saving, and I was like, well, might as well go to the front and then start saving. So the low line was surprisingly more viable than I was expecting it to be, and people were just trying to be really careful at the start, and when they were just waiting in line, fuel saving and lifting, I just decided to just go for it, gain some places, get to the front. Unfortunately, somewhere in the middle, I made a mistake, washed up in the dirty air just on wearing tires, and put myself in the back. But then after that, some good strategy and good luck got me back up to running in the podium again. And it really sucks that the restarts ended the race the way it did, but can't be mad about a second place, right?
Yeah, obviously you'd like the chance to race for a win, but second ain't bad considering the circumstances.
For sure. I mean, coming back from last to second in that last stint was really fun, so I can't really complain.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Akash. Good looking hot rod there for you. Welcome to the series, and we look forward to more highlight reel races from you. Do you have any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to shout out this evening? Give a call out to?
This case, I don't seem to have anyone watching, but I'd like to call out Neko Liveries. They're the ones who made my awesome half-and-half IndyCar that I absolutely love, and I would not want the car to look any other way as I finish on the podium. So shout out to Neko.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely a pleasure. Good. Keep going fast. Have fun. keep going fast and having fun, and we'll see you next week, okay?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, and see you next week.
Absolutely. So that is second place, Akash Rajesh. We'll go ahead and get him back to where he was, maybe. And without further ado, tonight's winner, Josh Ward. Josh, welcome to the P1 commentary booth. Mark Murphy, along with the wreck, Ryan Eric King. Congratulations, my friend. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So tell us a little bit about it. We saw you go to the front. We saw you go back toward the middle of the field, but you were always up at the front, swapping the lead, trying to slingshot and make that work. At one point, we thought you'd broken the draft even.
Yeah, there was one point when I came off pit road, but I got an EOL, started dead last, drove to the front, and then made a pit strategy where I went to last and then drove back to the front. So I think it was just a good night overall. I like these cars, I like this track, and it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Ryan, what would you like to ask the winner this evening?
Well, how was it for you during the closing stages of this race, especially with the restarts we had, and you were obviously in a position where you had to be focused at every restart to defend your position?
Yeah, I didn't really worry about defending until you get on the last lap. These cars, they push so bad behind another car. So when someone gets a good run on you down a straightaway, you just kind of let them go in the corner, save your fuel, save your tires, get them on the next straightaway, and it's a lot faster to just trade back and forth and work with the other cars than stay side by side beside them. So I wasn't really worried about it. I'm kind of bummed we didn't get that last lap shootout where we really could have, hammered down. But most of the race I felt like was give and take, and it just ended up being attrition.
Well, understandable, and great drive regardless.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's right. You're in front when the checkered flag flies. It doesn't matter how you get there. You get to take home the trophy. Josh Ward, you got any fans, friends, sponsors, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to this evening? The floor is yours.
Nobody in the car right now. I usually run LN carts, and they help me race in real life, so I always appreciate those guys. Yeah, just fun racing. Appreciate Shane putting it together, and I mean they got a little sloppy, but I think that this was the best we could expect an auto club IndyCar race to go. So it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to Victory Lane. We look forward to seeing more of you here. Keep going fast, having fun, my friend, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
You are absolutely more than welcome. So Josh Ward, the winner tonight at California, we'll go ahead and get him back to where he would like to be. And Ryan, not a bad one. We saw a little bit of everything tonight.
Yeah, we got to see the highs and lows of super speedway racing in IndyCar, and we saw some pretty great racing throughout. Obviously, we'd like to see a finish under green, but this is not stock car racing. We're not going to have any overtime or green-white checkers here.
No, we're not, and so for me, that's the great thing about open wheel racing. We run to the advertised distance. It can be exciting without it being artificial. And so, if you'd like to see more of that exciting action, the schedule is up on the screen for everybody. We'll be here next week, same time, same bad channel. Be sure to check out P1 Broadcasting for any and all upcoming streams. Make sure you hit that like button, ring the bell to subscribe so you get notifications of all of the best racing across iRacing, including the ISRA Truck Series. That runs on Monday night along with the NTRL Xfinity Series, which I broadcast. Tuesday night, we have the Top Split IndyCar races. Wednesday nights are going to be the Votive IndyCar Series, along with the NASR Votive IndyCar Series. And then our good friend and colleague Gary Godso, he's off broadcasting the Vigilante Racing League this evening. Thursday nights, typically we all take the day off. And so the Elite Racing League, you can catch Gary over on their channel, the Elite Racing Network, for their full-length, full-distance fixed IndyCar setup that includes many of the participants in the upcoming Pro Series. And so check that out if you'd like. We also will have the Formula Indy Series when that starts back up on Fridays. The iRacing IndyCar Series on Saturdays. As for me, Mark Murphy, I enjoyed this very much as a competitor in the top flights of IndyCar all through iRacing. This was a blast to sit in Gary's seat and call one, and not have to sweat it out on the track with guys like Julian Alcina and Josh Ward and Mason Mitchum and Luis Gonzalez Nunez, Will Stearns and others. Normally it would be me that would be in the fence, and so it was a good time tonight. It's more relaxing up here, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, it is definitely nice to be up here, and I can't wait for Chicagoland next week.
Absolutely. So for Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King, everybody else at P1 Broadcasting, we'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all of our first responders, active duty military, fire, police, paramedic, everybody out there that does everything that they can to keep us safe. And we will see you next week at Chicagoland, 7:50. Keep going fast and having fun, my friends.